Perfect. Perfect.
Boom! Back in the building. Here we are. Once again, we're on with the Black Comic Lords with Wakanda, Whiskey, and Blurred. I'm your host, Paul. And with me is my boy, Marc. Hey, pound it out, bro.
What's wrong way? What's going on?
Hey, man, I'm good, man. I'm good. How's your week?
Busy. Very, very, very busy. Got a couple of trials I'm getting.
Well, that sounds like you need a drink.
As always. So finally, my bottle got here. For those who don't know, this is a brand out of Florida. And Paul mentioned this about a month or so ago. So I ordered it probably like 2 weeks ago. And it took about 2 weeks to get to me.
What's up, Pericles? Welcome.
I've already opened it tonight. About to pour my first little bit of it.
You got the little spout on there and everything?
Yeah, you can buy these off of Amazon. You can buy a pack of them. Something that I learned after I bought the pack that I already have is that they have spouts that are pre-measured. So when you pour it, it'll only pour out like an ounce or 2 ounces. So that way, if you're making mixed drinks or whatever, you got the perfect measurement without having to use a jigger or anything. So I'm debating on whether or not I'm investing some of those. So let's see. It's got a light little color to it. I didn't read anything on it. I don't know how long it's been aged. I didn't read anything. Did you read any of that?
I did not pull anything out on it. Let me read what the back of it says here. I forgot to pull it up. I apologize. But why don't I just try pulling it up? Give me a second.
So while he's doing that, I just took my first little sip of it. Oh, as an aside, here in Atlanta, tomorrow, there's a whiskey event called Beer, Bourbon, and Barbecue. I go every year. It's at Atlantic Station. If you're in the metro Atlanta area, it's a very good time. You pay one price, drink as much as your little liver can take. I shall be there tomorrow, so this isn't going to be a long night for me tonight. But I just took my first sip of this, and the first taste of it was not bad, but it's got kind of an aftertaste to it. Kind of reminds me of iodine, for lack of a better phrase or whatever. But the first taste is not bad. Just that aftertaste to it, and I'll wait till Paul tries it himself and sees what he thinks.
It says, America's first free black town, come alive in your glass as you raise a toast to the heroes of Fort Mose, delivered conveniently to your doorstep.
Now, here's what's crazy. I mentioned last week that book that I'm reading, Black AF, the unwhitewashed history of America, whatever. The chapter that I was reading, he mentions Fort Mose right when I was reading. I had just gotten the bottle that day.
It's got some history on it right here. If you want me to read it,
it's in last Sunday, and then as I'm reading the book later on that Sunday, it mentions Fort Mose, and I was like, "Wow, that's kind of coincidental."
It's here in Florida. In 1726, 38 African-born enslaved Africans, would escape from the Carolinas, head south, and seek refuge amongst the Spanish just miles north of St. Augustine, Florida. Known for being skilled workers and farmers, these brave men and women also fought alongside the Spanish and their Indian allies against their former masters. In 1738, the governor would declare Fort Mose the first free black town in the United States. Fort Mose 1738 bourbon whiskey was created by African-American spirits maker Victor G. Harvey Sr. and is bottled at his very own Palm Beach Distillery that has recently relocated to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Look at that.
So my question is Fort Mose still a thing? Because I lived in Florida 3 years. You've been there over 30. I don't ever recall hearing about that city.
I have never heard of Fort Mose before in my life.
So 4 years aged. I think that it needs to be aged a little bit more.
4 years is not a long time.
Right. So if I'm going to give this a grade on a scale of 1 to 10, so obviously I had to have it delivered. I went looking in the liquor stores here, couldn't find it. So I spent damn near $70 with this liquor delivered to me. It's only 750 milliliters. I can't say that this was a good return on investment for me. Like there are bottles that I bought that I would have paid twice as much for based on how good. This one is just okay. I'm gonna rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. To be honest, I'd probably give it about a 6.5 or 7.
All right, well, let me give it a shot. Shout out to Bo Big and Frustrated Fan Show. What? Here on time, not 5 minutes before we end. Shout out to Frustrated. So I'm going to use a whiskey stone. This is what you use to cool down your drink. Pardon? Yeah, this is what you use to cool down your drink without it melting and changing the flavor.
And they have, while he's doing that, they have different types. So this one right here is, I don't know if you can tell, but this one is metal. The one that he has is like an actual stone. I have those two. And then somebody for Christmas gifted me these whiskey bullets. And so I have a little
bit. Smells delicious. Nice caramelly taste. 42% alcohol. It's got a tiny bit of a burn, but not something that's really overly bad. I think a drop or two of water would open it up a bit.
For me, I don't even consider that a burn.
It's not really a burn. For 42%,
it's that aftertaste to it. That's what detracts from this for me. The amount of money that I paid for this size bottle, and then that aftertaste. It is not a bad drink. Let me just say that. But if I were out somewhere, there would not be a point in time to say, "Hey, let me get a glass of Fort Mose." I have it in my bar now. I'll probably make some old fashions with it, But it's like I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, I probably give it a 6.5.
I give it a little bit more than that. I'll give it a 7.5. I enjoyed it.
It's okay. It's nothing for me. It's nothing to write home about. But I do like the history about it. Like something something better. Obviously, well, not obviously, but would be Uncle Nearest. Uncle Nearest is phenomenal. Maybe once they get going good and start aging stuff more, obviously you get the flavors from the barrels that they're aged in. I think that'll do this wonderful.
Try it with the whiskey stone.
But it's not horrible. Like Charles Woodson's whiskey, that was horrible. This is not. And that's just one person's opinion, of course. But while he's doing that, I am going to recommend you guys pick up that book, Black AF by Michael Harriet. It is a very good, informative, and humorous read. I really, really like that book.
So 2023 San Francisco World Spirits Competition award-winning bourbon, Fort Mose. It's not bad. How much was this for you?
It was like around 70 and change, I think, with the delivery.
Oh, I didn't pay that much for it. I think I paid
like
50.
Right.
It's not a $70 whiskey.
No.
At the price point I paid for it, which I think was around $50, it's adequate.
Okay, yeah, for that, sure.
It's a $50 whiskey. It's definitely worth $50, but 70, I wouldn't pay 70 for this.
Right. For me, overpriced. I couldn't say that I would ever buy a bottle again. But
so long story short, if you can find this bottle for about $50, it's worth getting. $70, I wouldn't spend $70 on this. All right. So that takes care of our whiskey portion.
Wakanda portion. No Wakanda books out this week.
Wait, hold on. We decided that we're going to talk about. We're still Wakanda whiskey and bourbon. The Wakanda part, still, even if Wakanda doesn't, Black Panther book doesn't come out.
Right. That's where I was going.
We're going to talk about a Black Panther book. Do you want to do the Black Panther book first?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we always do the whiskey. We always do the Wakanda next. So
Wakanda, yeah, that's right. Whiskey and then Wakanda. So. All right. So go ahead.
As I was about to say, Paul and I decided that whenever there aren't Wakanda specific books that come out that week, we'll go back and dig into the crates and start reviewing some of the older books, the Jungle Actions, the Priest Run, the Hudlin Run, and that's pretty much it, right? Because I haven't read those books in forever. We decided to review Black Panther Volume 3, Number 3, right? This is during the Priest Run. This book came out 25 years ago. Paul, this book came out in 1999. And I haven't read this book probably since then. And I had no independent recollection of anything that occurred on these pages. But reading it again, I really, really enjoyed this art by Marc Teixeira. I think you said that you've met him.
Marc Teixeira.
Your wife met him or got to sign something?
Yeah, I took my wife to her very first and only con years ago. At MegaCon, in fact, here in Orlando. And she was like, I know Black Panther is your favorite book, but what's your favorite Black Panther, run? And I said, Christopher Priest. She goes, what's the most significant one if you're going to get something like that? Because she really doesn't know anything about comics. I said, well, generally speaking, you want to get, first issues are usually always good issues to get. Now I'm going back in my stacks. I'm going through back issues, trying to find books. And she comes back and she produces to me Volume 3, Number 1 of the Priest Run, issue number 1. She's like, do you have this? I was like, yes, I have it, but I love that book. I mean, that book, Volume 3, Number 1, is what made me hooked to Black Panther for life. I was aware of Black Panther. I had a weekend hanging out with Dennis Cowan, and he was trying to get me into Black Panther. And I read his run. I was like, yeah, it's kind of interesting. But when that issue came out and I read it, that dude automatically was my number one superhero for all time. I said, yeah, that's a significant book. And I was like, thank you. And then she disappears again. And she comes back with it signed and remarked. No, she grabs me and she says, come with me. And she takes me to the table where Marc Texeira is sitting there by himself, just relaxed. No one's really around him, unassuming. And she says, this is the artist, right? I was like, yes, that's Marc Texeira. He goes, oh, well, he can sign it for you. So I bring it over. And she's very nice. She talks to him. Yeah, my husband loves this book. Can you sign it for him? He goes, oh, yeah, of course. He signed it and remarked it with a picture of the Black Panther. So I always remember that. Very significant.
Where's your copy?
It's in my fireproof short box that I keep my most valuable comics in.
Gotcha. Well, I read this earlier today, and we probably said this before, but Everett Ross clearly had to have been based on Michael J. Fox.
Oh, he was. He absolutely was.
Yeah, as I'm sitting up here looking at this, I'm like, Michael J. Fox is the only person who could have played this character back in the day. And with that humor, the way that Priest writes him, clearly Michael J. Fox. For those who don't know, Michael J. Fox in the 80s was that dude. Michael J. Fox, as they say nowadays, Michael J. Fox was him. He had Back to the Future franchise. He had the series. What was the series he was on? What was it? What was the series? Family Ties.
Family Ties, and he later did Spin City as well.
But that came later. Spin City came in the 90s. But back in the 80s, he was on Family Ties, and he played the conservative son to a couple of hippie parents, right? The way that he's drawn, the way that he acts, this was just the way Michael J. Fox was in his shows and movies. Like he had a movie called The Secret to My Success or something like that.
Right.
I could see him playing this role. But he, in the beginning pages, he's basically telling the story of Achebe. How would you say it? Achebe. And he calls him Bob. And the way he's telling this story, Achebe is basically Kaiser Soze. Whenever I was reading this, I was like, man, the way the mythology behind that dude is just like Kaiser Soze. And it was pretty impressive. Achebe basically was attacked by some guerrillas. His wife left him for the guerrilla leader. So instead of going out after the guerrilla leaders, he went after his wife's family. That's not funny. That's not nice. But he killed his wife's mom and dad and everybody that his wife knew. And I'm like, damn, he was kind of bitter about that. He was kind of pissed. But, we don't know if that's a real story or just part of the mythos of the character. But I found humor in that. Yeah, I was just about to show that page.
Yeah, in this scene, you see Everett Ross, who's the one drinking the coffee there, talking to what?
Michael J. Fox.
All right. Talking to Nikki Adams, the blonde-haired woman to the left of the screen. She's his boss at the State Department. And she's actually the one who sent Everett Ross to greet T'Challa in the first issue, because T'Challa's coming as part of the Wakandan delegation to the United States. He's no longer an Avenger at this time. He'd quit to deal with affairs of state with Wakanda. And she says, go greet him, show him around. He's a head of state dignitary. Take care of him and keep him out of trouble. And T'Challa does everything to make Everett Ross's job just a nightmare as an attaché. But he's rolling with the punches. But you later find out that Nikki Adams also has an interest in T'Challa because she and T'Challa used to date when they were in college. When T'Challa was going to various universities, one of them was in the United States, and he was dating Nikki Adams at the time.
That wouldn't fly today.
Say what?
That wouldn't fly today.
That wouldn't fly today. Well, you know, it's college. People experiment when they're in college. That's what T'Challa
Yeah,
was doing.
but you know how folks feel, and the fact that here you have this powerful black dude who's the leader of this country laid up with this white chick. Oh man, people would have been in arms, up in arms about it. You know, in
Well,
my
it's the only time it happened.
yes, even though
But
even
Achebe is
though he
that
almost smashed Sue Richards,
he could have.
should have,
And
according to
in
Chris.
retrospect, Reggie Hoodlin would have preferred that he did.
Mm-hmm. Susan,
Now, Achebe is an interesting villain. Of all the villain T'Challa's had, because he doesn't have superpowers. There's rumors in the story that he might have made a deal with the devil for the things that he's able to accomplish. He does have a gift of gab. They say here he's got a law degree from Yale, multiple degrees in psychology, political science, and divinity. He's a great leader. He's able to mobilize people to do his bidding. It's like part TD Jakes, Donald Trump, and I don't know, some other person
Idi
who can talk.
Amin.
And like, yeah, an Idi Amin, or a Kanye West, all are wrapped up in one. Just a megalomaniac, narcissistic, but charismatic guy. That's Achebe. And he's actually brilliant. So whereas most of T'Challa's foes tend to be physical foes, Achebe doesn't have any powers. He can't fight, anything like that. It's his ability to make schemes within schemes within schemes. He's kind of like T'Challa's Joker, if you really want to be 100 with it. Because Achebe and the Joker, they're not physically dangerous to the superheroes, to Batman or Black Panther. It's the fact that they can get in their heads and do all these machinations and schemes that really make them dangerous.
The Joker is not a match for Bruce Wayne as physically, but like Paul said, all the craziness of the Joker, who is kind of brilliant in his own right, and the way that he matches up with him makes him a huge threat. And I guess Achebe is kind of the same way. If you were to fan cast that character, who would you choose? I have two people.
That's easy. It would be Orlando
Jones.
Orlando Jones.
I almost said Orlando Bloom, but that's the white dude. But yes, Orlando Jones, but he's like, hold on a second. Orlando Jones is around our age. He is 55. He's about to be 55.
I'm not 55.
So
well, your old ass is 55.
Shut up. He's about to, if you wanted to go younger, I could see Lakeith Stansfield in that role.
Yeah, I can see Lakeith Stansfield do it too.
Yeah, Lakeith would definitely be good in that. But one of the things about this is that Achebe is part of this, who's a citizen of this fictional African nation. It's war torn, so they end up in these refugee camps in Wakanda. And one of the things that I found interesting that I did not remember is that Achebe, was calling T'Challa a different name that I had never heard of before.
He called him Ukatana, which was Zulu for kitten, like kitty cat.
Where did you get that? Where did you pick that up?
It's in the comic. It's in the same issue you're reading.
I must overlook that because I sure didn't see it, because the devil is in here too. If you remember, we talked about 2 months ago, issue number 2 of this book, and Everett Ross is at his apartment, and literal Satan is there, and the Satan is looking for T'Challa, and I don't remember why he's looking for him or whatever. We'll find that out in the coming weeks and months or whatever. But the devil is basically time hopping T'Challa and messing with his mind or whatever, and he calls him that name. And I was like, I don't remember him being called that.
Here's where he calls him that. So the rumor is true, Ukatana. No good deed goes unpunished. And if you look in the black box to the left here, Ukatana equals Zulu for kitten.
Okay, so I didn't look at that. Yeah, 'cause that's kind of blurred a little bit. Let me see.
Well, it's
Yeah, you can barely see it in the book.
It's 1999, man. The printing process.
Yeah,
was
I mean, nobody's questioning that. It's just you can barely see it. It's right here.
What's also interesting in this book, do you remember in the Black Panther movie what type of cars T'Challa was driving around in?
No.
Do you remember?
Now, I know this is driving an Lexus.
Right. He was driving a Lexus. It's kind of like, why a Lexus? Why would T'Challa, Wakanda's its own country, they probably make their own cars. Why would they drive a Lexus? Why would they promote Lexus in a Black Panther movie? That never made sense to me. Here's T'Challa's limousine while he's in the United States. As fate would have it, the trunk of his stretched Lexus was also soundproof.
When was Lexus created? Because Lexus was created in the early 90s. Because I remember when I was in the military.
And this came out in 98, 99.
No, the book did, but I'm talking about the actual vehicle. And I'm thinking that at that time, the Lexus was a very popular car.
Yeah.
So that's probably why they used that, because that was considered a luxury automobile. That was probably why they did that.
But it's kind of cool that it's technically canon for T'Challa to drive around in a Lexus because it's in the Priest run. I never realized that until now when I was rereading the issue for this review tonight. So I thought that was kind of cool.
So when they were in Korea going after Claw after the casino, the car that Shuri was remote piloting, was that a Lexus? Because I honestly don't remember.
The car what?
The car that Shuri was remote piloting?
Yes, that was the Lexus. Okay. That was the Lexus.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Let's go to the chat. Bo Big says, I remember Priest saying much of Ross's personality derived from the character Chandler from the show Friends.
When did Friends come out? When did Friends start? Let's see here.
I don't know. It came out after Living Single. I tell you that because they stole the show from it.
Okay, well, yeah, Friends was out for about 5 years. So, yeah, that makes sense. Friends started in 94, and this book came out in 99. So I can see that. R.I.P. to...
also, Style So Serious. Did y'all talk about the coldest thing T'Challa said when the Avengers arrived? When the Avengers arrived? In this issue? I need you to elaborate on that, please, Styles.
Yeah.
JP says Bronze Tiger and Black Panther should collab.
Well, different universes, but if they ever did a cross issue,
who would win in a fight, Bronze Tiger or Black Panther?
I would say Black Panther.
Yeah, that's the correct answer. Bronze Tiger, look, I give the dude mad props. He's got hands. He's beaten Batman. But T'Challa's enhanced.
Yeah. Oh, we were talking about Friends. R.I.P. to Matthew Perry.
What's up to Gordon? Gordon giving you a props on your Free Palestine shirt.
Thank you very much.
And poor people. JP talking about Lexus. Yeah, they got it before you did. Should have drove a Jaguar.
I heard Jaguars were pieces of shit cars.
Shut up, man.
I've heard that for years.
Don't let you come down here and have you drive around in T'Challa again. My car's name is T'Challa.
I've never ridden in that car, whatever it is.
It's a blackjack.
Okay.
Product placement. Listen to Gordon, y'all. I always remiss at this. Hey, y'all watching this right now. If you're enjoying the show, please hit the like button. It's right down there. Just take a moment, hit the like button. It helps our algorithm to let all this keep going, and it costs you nothing. Just hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, why aren't you subscribed to our channel? Please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell so you're notified of when we do these shows. A lot of times I don't get to advertise for these shows ahead of time. I just pop up, and a lot of you guys show up, and I appreciate it. But the easier way to really be notified So hit the notification bell.
Yeah.
C. Cole says Lexus started in 1989.
89, right. So when I was in the military, I was stationed in Texas, and we're talking like
Came a brand in
1990.
2005, he says.
We're talking 1991. One of the doctors, he was a gynecologist, a brother, as a matter of fact, and he had one of the first Lexus that I ever saw. Is it Lexi or Lexus? What do y'all say?
Lexi.
I say Lexus.
Lexus. Bo Big says that Avengers thing that Styles Osiris was talking about, the arrival of the Avengers, and he said something cold.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet. We're only on issue 3.
I've read this for 25 years, so
one issue a week.
Yep.
I became a fan of Black Panther with Reginald Hudlin and his run, but I like Chris Priest's run Black Panther, and he wrote it in a Pulp Fiction style. Yeah,
I can see that.
Sir Forte and Card Imperial in Comics. Hello, welcome to the show. All right. So what else did we want to talk about in this issue?
I just really, really like the art style.
I love Marc Texeira's art.
Yeah. Like this right here. Show this page with the little girl. That is just amazing. It's very well done. Very well done.
There was one other thing of significance I wanted to talk about.
This panel right here looked like some Black Avengers. Right here, which I thought was cool.
Hold on. There's another significance to this issue.
Well, obviously, this
was the very first appearance of none other than Hunter.
I didn't even notice
Black Panther's adoptive brother.
I didn't even notice him. But this is the first appearance of Achebe. And then on I think the next page, you see Hunter. And I didn't notice him on this panel, but on this panel, when the devil is messing with T'Challa's mind, I noticed that he's right here. And I'm like, oh man, that's Hunter right there.
Where? Let me see that again.
I lost. Here we go.
Where do you see Achebe?
No, not Achebe, but Hunter.
Oh, Hunter. Yes.
Yeah. Because I didn't even notice him in the panel that you just showed. I just was focusing on T'Chaka and Claw. And it's interesting because if you saw the 12 episode stop action Black Panther comic book that was based on the Hudlin run, you see that Claw was a mercenary who was sent to kill T'Chaka. And T'Challa had 2 sons. I'm sorry, T'Chaka had 2 sons. An older son, and then T'Challa was the younger one. And so they kind of retconned it how Claw was involved with the whole family in Wakanda. So I just thought that was pretty interesting. And then there you have T'Challa hugged up with a white girl. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
that's Nikki Adams.
A lot of folks will probably have issues with this. And all this dialogue, when you see people other than T'Challa talking, that's T'Challa talking to the devil, literally talking to the devil. Because in his mind's eye, he is reliving these events and talking to the characters, but they're voiced by the devil. And what I found interesting is on the next page, I think, or a couple pages later, you have T'Challa tonguing down Nakia, which, he's not really supposed to do. Because they were, at the time, they were his wives in waiting. So
that's because the devil had tricked T'Challa.
Yep.
And let's show that here. This kiss was so powerful.
Yeah, go back one page though, because T'Challa thinks that he's kissing Monica Rambeau. T'Challa in comics has really two main love interests. Not Monica Rambeau, but Monica Lynn and Storm. Monica Lynn was a jazz singer who was from New Orleans that during the Don McGregor run of Jungle Action, T'Challa was heavily involved with. My fan cast for her was Janelle Monáe. I was really hoping that we could see that love interest in the comics.
So as Mark was saying, T'Challa's going through his memories, with the devil's making T'Challa go through his memories and reliving them, and the devil's talking as various people that are in his memories. And in this flashback, he believes he's kissing Monica Lynn.
But in reality, he's in the back of the limo.
Yeah, and when he, in actuality, while he's having these dreams, these visions, the devil's making him go through, he's actually kissing Nakia, which, you know, the Dora Milaje as a concept, and specifically Nakia and Okoye, their first introduction was 2 issues earlier in issue number 1. They're described as by Everett Ross as kung fu Amazon teenage kids.
Yeah.
So she's probably about 18
19.
right now. Yeah, 18 or 19 years old. And it's his wife training. And one of the things that's noted, I think it's by Ross, because I think he's the one narrating this, is that to kiss one of the door, not to kiss them, but to seal the deal with one of the Dora Milaje is basically indicating that is your intention to marry that woman.
And no matter what the king does, she can no longer marry anybody else. Like, she's quote unquote spoiled forever. Right.
And she is betrothed to him. They always refer to him, the Dora Milaje always refer to him as beloved, because they're sort of the wives in waiting, possibly potentials. When they originally were presented in the Priest run, no, I think that was actually a later retcon by Hudlin. Each of the Dora Milaje represent various tribes, and they're sort of representatives of the possible wives. It helps to maintain a balance between the various tribes, that each one of their tribe members basically put up a woman to be part of the inner circle of T'Challa. Yeah. I didn't want to use the word sacrifice, but something along those lines.
But, you know, let me just say this, though. You know, I like the run, I like the art, but I do not like the way that T'Challa is drawn in this volume. I've never liked that, because he looks more like Shane, played by not Damon Wayans, but Keenan Ivory Wayans in A Low Down Dirty Shame. I just don't like the bald look, because every time I read this book, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about Shaft. I'm thinking about Shane. I just don't like that. But he's a cool character, and that part I do like. One thing that we haven't seen, though, in this that I recall up to this point was his intellect. And I think that other writers...
No spoilers, Jay. No spoilers.
So, yeah. Well, I mean, the book is 25 years old. Come on. If you haven't read it,
a lot of people haven't read this run. Oddly enough, a lot of Black Panther fans have not read this run.
Listen, that's on you. That's on them. So anyway, but it's a good run. It's a good solid run, and if we don't have any Black Panther books released next week, we may do issue number 4. Or we may hop on over to the Hudlin run. We just don't know.
Jungle Action.
Or Jungle Action. What do you got? So yeah, let's ask the fans. What do you guys want us to do? So we're on issue number 3 of the Priest run. Next week, whenever we don't have any Black Panther content, do you want us to continue with one run, or do you want us to bounce back and forth between all of them? And when I say all of them, I mean Priest, Hudlin, and Jungle Action.
In essence, do you want us to continue doing the Priest run on the weeks Black Panther doesn't come out or Ultimate Black Panther comes out? Or do you want us to next go to Jungle Action or go to the Hudlin run of Black Panther?
That's what I said. Right. Exactly. You know what? I can see that, Bo Biggs. I can see.
Hey, Bo Biggs. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
With the super chat. Appreciate you, bro.
I can see Avery Brooks in that role. Every time you play that, my eyes immediately drawn to the tribe member with the orange and green blanket on. And I'm like, God, I really want to find that.
Right?
Play that again real quick. Play it again real quick.
You want me to play the same?
Can you freeze it?
Well, if we got to play it again, someone else has got to give us a super chat.
Well, no, just play it real quick.
Nope. You can donate some money to the cause, man. We got to pay for these mics.
Yeah, no. Do you have the ability to freeze? Because when you next time you play it, I want to see that orange and green blanket. Because I'm like, okay.
If we get another super chat, I will play the same video again.
And can you freeze it when you play it? Do you have that ability?
I don't know if I can freeze. I don't think it works that way.
Continue with
the priest. Bo Big says continue with the priest run.
Priest run ran for like 60 issues.
62.
Yeah, that'll take us to the.
That's the longest Black Panther run of all time.
Yeah. Yes,
yes. Kenneth Gardner says, I have all Christopher Priest Black Panther running graphic novels. They are great, awesome, big comic books to have. Indeed. No, I think you should stay consistent, stay on the Priest run. So we got 2 votes to stay on the Priest run.
Okay. Fair enough.
C. Cole also says stay on the Priest run.
Okay.
Keep focusing. Gordon says stay on the Priest run.
Fair enough. So then that's it. It's unanimous for those who commented.
All right. So we got 2 more super chats. So let's go back to, damn, all these things just popped up as soon as I hit. All right, here we go.
You saw that orange and green. I gotta find it.
Well, hold on. We have another super chat from frustrated fans. So we get to play it again.
Yeah,
as University of Miami graduates and Black Panther fans, it is incumbent upon both of us to find that orange and green tribe cloth and do something with it.
Yeah, it was a lot of the Marvel movies are filmed here. It's my understanding that the Thunderbolts is currently being filmed here. So I got to find out where their studios are and sit up here and try to, I don't know, get access.
We got one vote for the Hudlin run next.
I think you were outvoted.
I think you're outvoted. I think we're going to go through the entire Priest run, then we'll go to Hudlin. Although we should have started with Jungle Action first if we're going to be in chronological order.
But here's the thing: when we first did this, we did 1 issue of each one, and so that would be a lot for each episode. Because we could spend an hour talking on 3 issues of Black Panther. So,
yeah. If you don't have this run or any of the prior runs, as Gordon says, the most economic way to do it, other than getting Marvel Unlimited, which $5 a month, and you can read them all digitally, buy the omnibuses. There are plenty of them on the Black Panther runs in the past. That's the best way to sort of get these books with the most cost-effective way, I should say. Frustrated says, Mark, I think you should do the plate and the lip.
I could not show up in court with a damn lip plate. You know what I'm saying? No. Thank you, though, for that suggestion, but no, that will not happen.
Yeah, you got them big lips, man. You could do it.
Listen, I'm proud of my African heritage as well as anybody should be.
All right, so let's take a short commercial break, and then we'll get into the rest of our books of the week. Let's go. What's up, comic fam? It's your boy Paul with an exclusive look at a dope new section of our blackcomiclords.net website. Head to the site, click on Black Indie Comics for your selection of the dopest black comics around. And if you're a black comic creator and you want to be added to the site, send us your link with a copy of your logo so we can add it in there. But be patient. We're getting there. Much respect to all of you.
Here's our black real estate in comics. What do I mean? Let's check out Black Panther. He is gone from the MCU for reasons. And what is happening in the comics? We can complain all day about how our champion is being treated, but we don't own that character. Look at Milestone character, curated by one of the greats, Dwayne McDuffie, my guy. But we don't really own or control any of his characters. DC does. So I'll ask again, where is our black real estate in comics? Meet Delta Dogs from Millennial Comics, created and controlled by us, where story sits in the forefront. Delta Dogs is more than just black characters being black for the sake of being black. This story is about 7 cousins that gets into an encounter with a mysterious glowing stranger that changes their lives forever. And with their unique abilities, this family may be the one thing that can save their hood that's being ruled over by a vicious super gang. With an ex-criminal as their leader and other superheroes that looks the other way when it comes to their environment, this will be an impossible mission to pull off. Grab these books in our hardcover Ultimate Edition bundle at millennialcomic.com so we can really have some skin in the game when it comes to the comic book industry. Keep doing y'all thing, Black Comic Lords. Peace.
All right. We are back with Wakanda Whiskey and Blerdom. Let's talk about our reads of the week.
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern what?
Green Lantern WarJournal.
It's like a Tribe Called Quest, bro. You got to say the whole thing.
Green Lantern WarJournal. So check this out. John Stewart at this point is a god. There is no other way to say it. He has been able, this is not a spoiler. Oh, let me say this. Guys, typically what we like to do is when we're discussing books that were released 2 days ago on Wednesday, we try not to give spoilers from this most recent release. If something happened previously, we can talk about that. But a lot of times people aren't able to get to the comic book store. They haven't been able to read the books yet. So we try not to give spoilers for this week's releases. So please keep that in mind when you're commenting. That being said, in Green Lantern WarJournal, John Stewart's mother, God bless her, is suffering from dementia. John Stewart had a sister who apparently died, but he's got to be off in space. But the mom is still thinking about the sister, her daughter. So in order to placate his mother, John
he was promised to her that he wouldn't leave her again.
Right. And to placate her and to make her feel better, John has created a construct of his sister that has independent thought, that moves, that thinks on its own. John has basically created life. I know a lot of people think, view Storm Aurora Monroe as a goddess. Okay, that's fine. She's an extremely powerful mutant. I personally don't view her as a goddess other than the fact that she looks fine. But John has created life, and I think that's very, very important. To be a god, in my mind, you have to have extreme power, omnipotence, omniscience, and to be able to create life. John has created life. He is, in essence, a god. And that occurred a couple of issues ago. It rears its head in this particular book. What did you want to say about that?
Here's the thing. Jeffrey Thorne, in his run, Volume 8 of Green Lantern, gave John a significant power-up. He established that John Stewart no longer needed a power ring. He had ascended to, as Marc phrased it, basically a Green Lantern god. Since that run, you never really got to see much of an exploration of what that means. I think even John himself doesn't know the extent of his powers, and that's kind of the point of this run by Philip Kennedy Johnson. Shout out to Philip Kennedy Johnson. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant run.
Is he brilliant?
Artwork in this book is significantly cool. Well done. Detailed.
The artist, as an aside, sorry for interrupting, but the artist in these books is a person by the name of Montos. I'm assuming it's a man, but I don't know that.
Excellent artwork.
Yeah.
So John Stewart has returned to Earth after being ascended. His mother is suffering from dementia. He promised her, I know that you miss my sister, your daughter who's died. You're here alone when I'm off in space, superheroing. I'm going to be the dutiful good son, and I'm not going to leave you again, I promise. I'm going to take care of you. But stuff goes down, and he's called away, but he feels bad about it. So he instinctively creates an avatar, an extension of his powers. Let me more clarify. An extension of his will, and he wills to life the form of his sister.
The way that the mother would remember the sister, not
The
an
way that the
adult
mother would remember the
version,
sister,
but a
but
child.
this creation is self-aware. She
Mhm.
knows she's not the daughter, but she's acting like the daughter. She's aware on some level. You really don't know what they are, some type of golem, so to speak. And you're like, wow, this dude is mad powerful. When other Green Lanterns encounter him and challenge him and say, well, you're not a Green Lantern anymore, you don't have your ring, and he pulls out his powers and beats them, and they're like, how can you do that? He's powerful. And in this issue, it's like every issue you see him do something else. It's steadily escalating to see how the extent of what this means of him being an ascended Green Lantern.
Something that needs to be said, though, John Stewart has been bifurcated, though, because during the
Oh man, I want
Thorn,
to get it. That's complicated.
hold on, but during the Thorn run, John Stewart is this, as Paul said, this ascended being. But I guess it was later on in that run, or I don't remember what run it was. But you have the very, very powerful designated power ring ascended John Stewart has kind of split his consciousness into two separate entities, two separate John Stewart individuals. And the more powerful one is out there somewhere. This is the less powerful but still godlike individual who is currently on planet Earth. Well, not really on planet Earth right now, but who's fighting these bad folks without, giving too many spoilers for this specific issue. But
Yeah,
he
the
does
identity of the big bad is revealed kind of in this issue, and it's interesting. It's someone from John's past.
the thing that I found the most funny, and this is a spoiler from this issue, is that the bad guy, the main big bad, is talking to John, and you know how bad folks talk. And then they do something, and then they talk about John's mother because they have an idea of what John's life is about. So basically, in this page right here, this is the only spoiler I want to give. John basically says, "Keep my mama name out your mouth." And I
Don't
just, and when
talk
I was
about my mother.
reading this,
Don't talk about my mother.
right? He was like,
If
he
it was
said,
a
"Don't talk about my mother."
Black Rider probably would have felt comfortable enough to say, "Don't talk about my mom."
He said, "Don't talk about my mother." But in my head, when I'm reading this, he was like, "Yo, keep my mama name out your mouth." And I just cackled at that a little bit. And I thought that was pretty funny.
The other thing interesting, if you look on this page here, in this page, John discovers he's trying to figure out a way to fight the big bad. And he's like, I'm trying to wield my powers of light. Because it's part of the Green Lantern credo. Beware all evil, beware Green Lantern's light and might, right? Because they have these hard light-based powers. And he's like, instead of wielding the light, what if I become the light?
And let's not
And
go
that's what he does in this panel. He realizes he can actually become the Green Lantern light.
let's not go too deep into it for those who haven't read it.
That's the only spoiler I'm going to give. I don't show you what he does or say what he does, but he discovers he can actually become the light. And
it's a good read. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was somewhat confused by the way the panels were illustrated. Like, who is he fighting? What's going on? It was kind of, I'm not gonna say it was kind of convoluted, but there was a lot going on. So I was kind of having difficulties sometimes following it. But it's still a solid story. I am enjoying it.
Frustrated says, I love the callback to the Radiant Black that had affected him back in the New Justice League. Yeah. He definitely has more depth than War Machine. In this run, certainly.
Yeah.
There is another John is looking for his wife.
Well, based on this book, we kind of know what that's about.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Paul, I don't spoil, so I know when to stop.
So, yeah, based on this book. All right, fine. So yeah, definitely, this was a dope book. This is one of the best books on the shelf.
It's enjoyable. I won't say that, but
it's a good run.
Is
this? I still haven't figured out if this is an ongoing or if it's a limited series.
I haven't. I don't know. You're the one who picks up the solicits and finds out all that other stuff.
I think it might be an ongoing series. If it's a limited series, it's probably a maxi series of like 12 issues or something.
12, yeah.
But it's a good run.
There's no end in sight of this just yet. So
yeah. All right. So what's our next book?
All right. So the next book I want to talk about did not come out this week, but it's one that I discovered recently. And issue number 5 of the book came out about 2 weeks ago. And I just got issue number 4 through an online order called Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer. Now, let me say this. These books are 2-3 weeks old, so there will be many spoilers of these books. I don't have that cover. Who is that on the cover of that one that you have?
That's Harriet Tubman.
She looks different.
It is an homage cover. It is an homage cover to the Candyman movie poster.
Okay. All right. So
the artwork is done by Nicholas Draper Ivy of
I like him. He did the stat thing. So let me say this. Harriet I've just started reading Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer. It's 5 issues in. As I said a moment ago, issue number 5 dropped about 2 weeks ago. So Green Lantern is 12 issues, blah, blah, blah. Fine. All right, we're talking about Harriet Tubman now. This book, when I first started reading it, I read issues 1 through 3 and immediately fell in love. I posted it on my my Instagram, and I tagged the creator in it, the writer in it, whose name is David Crownson, right? Now, this is going to be a spoiler, but the book has been out for months now. Harriet Tubman is fighting vampires. Personally, I don't consider vampires demons, but his response to me was like they are of the demon genus, so to speak. Okay. This book, as great as I love Rodney Barnes' Philadelphia, based on my sense of humor, based on my silliness, I love the humor in Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer significantly more than I like Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a good, solid, great book. It's a serious book. This one has a lot of humor in it. Love this book. If you are not getting Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, let me tell you now, highly recommend this book. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate this book an 8.5 and 9. I love the art. I love the story. It is absolutely phenomenal. One of the things in this book, I immediately thought of when I read this earlier today, I thought about Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained, right? This is the page. I don't know if you can pull it up, Paul. This is issue number 4 right here. I don't know if you can see that. But basically, a church full of good old white folks are in church praising their white Jesus, talking about how their slaves are being stolen. And the individual saying, some nigger has been stealing our niggas. I don't know why, but that just cracked me up to no end. This book is, again, this guy has a very solid sense of humor. He has a very solid sense of pacing, action. You get to see about the characters. This is an extremely well done book. If you are not collecting Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, I highly recommend this book. If, Paul, you were going to fan cast Harriet Tubman, who would you select?
what's her face? Something Detweiler from The Harder They Fall and this latest movie that just came out.
Okay, yeah. Who played it? Till?
Yes, the mother of
Yeah.
Emmett Till.
Yeah.
I forget her first name, but her last name is Detweiler.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. She's an extremely good actress because when she was in The Harder They Fall, they had her butched out. She was more masculine. I did not watch Till because I'm tired of black trauma porn, but the images that I saw of her, she was very matronly. She was very feminine. She looked very, very nice. She's a very solid actress. She is very, very good.
Let me tell you my one of my favorite parts of this book, this particular issue. First of all,
issue 4 or 5. Issue 4 or 5.
What?
Issue 4 or 5.
5.
Okay.
So, the interesting thing is that the book is called Harriet Tubman, Demon Slayer. Not vampire killer, not vampire slayer, demon slayer. So she's killing more than just vampires. She's killing.
Finally.
What?
Finally.
All right, man. Keep interrupting. I don't even know what the hell you're saying.
Finally.
She's killing demons, right? And so there's this really cool part where this little girl is asking the question. What's the difference between vampires that hunt us and the white folks that used to beat us? And Harriet Tubman's looking at it. She's pondering it. She's pondering the question. And she goes, the vampires have sharper teeth. It's the only difference. So it kind of makes you think it's like Marc talks about the humor in the book and the writing and what have you. That's kind of the double entendre of her being a demon slayer. She's not just killing vampires, she's killing racist white folk that are hunting them. The slavers. He equates the slavers of the ancient South. Ancient South. With vampire demons. There's the same thing. There's no difference. So I thought that was a really cool panel. I enjoyed that part. But yeah, this is a dope book.
The book is very, very good. Now, when I think of demons, I think of creatures from the pits of hell. Now, obviously, vampires.
You talk to our ancestors; they define the people on those plantations, the slave owners, and the overseers and the catchers, to the same damn thing.
When I think of demons, I think of creatures from the pits of hell or whatever. I think of what was the name of that? Paranormal Activity, things of that nature, right? I don't think of vampires or werewolves or witches as demons, but the creator of the book, he puts them all paranormal entities in the same big bag. And, it very well could be called Harriet Tubman Vampire Slayer because most of the creatures that she fights are vampires. Now, again, this is a spoiler because this happened a couple of weeks ago. But in the most recent issue, she fights some werewolves. Werewolves and vampires go hand in hand across I'm not going to say all, but a lot of pop culture discussing these things. When you think of, what did Kevin Greavius write? The movie that he wrote?
Frankenstein?
Well,
or
with the vampire.
Oh,
Underworld.
Wow, I didn't have a brain
as an example, the Underworld franchise. You have the vampires and you have the Lycans. Kevin Greavius, my frat brother, he wrote that movie. The Lycans and vampires, they go hand in hand a lot of times. And in this book, we're now introduced to Lycans. And, even though they are supernatural creatures or creatures of the night or however you want to call it, I never viewed them as quote unquote demons, but I'm now looking at this in a different way. But it is an extremely good book. Highly recommend Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer. If you don't have it on your pools, please add it. It is a very
My boy Armistead Guathany from Brooklyn has a good idea. Blade goes back in time on a parallel universe and meets Tubman. Make it happen. I'll tell you, I'll do one further. How about having Harriet Tubman go forward in time and go into the Philadelphia verse and meet up with Toussaint Louverture, and they both go hunting demons in Philadelphia? That would be dope. That's the crossover I need.
You know, about 10, 12 years ago, we got the movie Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer. I don't care what anybody says. That movie deserved a sequel. That movie was so very good. I don't recall seeing the main actor whose name I don't know. I don't recall seeing him in anything else since then. But he played the hell out of that role. I absolutely love that movie.
You realize that actor was simply just a de-aged Liam Neeson, right?
Okay. No.
That was
no.
the guy looks just like Liam Neeson. That's what I was saying.
He may look like Liam Neeson to Paul, but no, he was not. But you know, they created a couple of different movies. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies was another one of these mashups of, I'm not gonna say real world stuff, but you know, things that you weren't necessarily anticipating combined. President of the United States hunting vampires. Pride and Prejudice dealing with zombies. Both of those movies were extremely, to me, both of those movies were very, very good, very, very entertaining. I wouldn't mind seeing a live action either series or movie, Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, aka Harriet Tubman Vampire Slayer, because it's a very, very good product. For me, what I like to see, Michonne, Denai Guerrera, I can see playing that role. Cynthia Erivo, who played Harriet Tubman in the movie, I can see playing that role.
Yeah, Denai Guerrera could do it too. That'd be kind of.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you, Letitia Wright. Even though she maybe kind of a nut job, I can see her playing that role. So there are a lot of good actresses out there who would do the role justice, and I wouldn't mind seeing a live action.
All right, next book up. Mr. Rodney Barnes' Luke Cage, Gang War, #4, the final issue of this run. What's your thoughts?
So the Gang War is basically a Spider-Man centric storyline. I'm not going to say it's a cross-issue storyline because it doesn't touch on other properties. When you have a true cross-issue storyline, the storyline hits pretty much every major Marvel property. Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, etc., etc. This is a Spider-Man story. But in that story, you have books that are unique to the storyline. You have Gang War Luke Cage, you have Gang War Daredevil, the female Daredevil, aka Elektra. You have Shang-Chi, etc., etc. It's okay. It's okay. It's not great. The Gang War storyline first appeared in Spider-Man back in the 90s. As we all know, Spider-Man is a street level, pretty much he's a street level hero. He deals a lot with the streets and bad guys of New York City. This first appeared back in the 90s, as I said a moment ago. They rehashed that like they've done other storylines with Wars, Inferno, and other properties. Yeah, it's okay. Luke Cage is the main hero in this book, obviously. For those who don't know, he is the mayor of New York. He defeated Wilson Fisk, and it's okay. I'm not gonna say it's great. I won't say that. It's okay. You get to see a lot of character. I get to see a lot of characters who I don't normally see, like Cloak and Dagger. His wife, Jessica Jones. I didn't know about Jessica Jones as a character until I watched the Netflix Marvel stuff. I had no idea who this broad was. But she's been around obviously forever. It's cool. The art's fine. I'm not gonna say it's anything honestly that you have to just run out and get. It's not that type of book, but it's okay. It's all right.
I'm a big fan of Rodney Barnes. All of us Black comic lords are big fans of Rodney Barnes. He has the number one book on the shelves, the most well written book on the shelves, in my humble opinion, in Philadelphia. He wasn't given a lot to work with here. I'm not a fan of the gang war spin-off books. The main gang war book is actually not bad. Got a lot of villains vying for leadership of New York. It's actually a cool storyline. But the problem is the storyline is there. These ancillary books don't really amount to anything.
Money grab.
Giving him the villain of Alistair Smythe, the Spider Slayer, and admittedly, I hate this guy. I hate this character. I hate the storyline that he came out of with the whole spider clone thing. I freaking hated the spider clone thing in Amazing Spider-Man. It was one of the worst storylines they ever did. So I'm already biased against him being the big bad villain. It's kind of like, really? That's the guy against Luke Cage? Friggin' Spider Slayer dude that nobody cares about? And actually, I'm surprised Marvel would put him in because most people they usually want to shy away from their paltry history with the spider clone conspiracy thing. That's the guy you want to put into all this? Nobody cares about this guy. It's not that, oh, great, he's a great villain from the past, they're bringing back. We literally don't care about Alistair Smythe. Nobody's checking for this dude. Nobody has positive feelings about, oh, he was a great villain back in the day. He's not. He's not someone to wrap a 4-issue story around. Having Luke Cage deal with being mayor and having to fight against the Anti-Vigilante Act, that's cool, but give him a real villain to fight that with. Freaking Spider Slayer guy? What are you thinking, Marvel? That's the villain you give Rodney Barnes to write? It's a waste of talent. It's a waste. This book was beneath him, honestly. Beneath that talent level. There wasn't a whole lot to work with here. It just wasn't. It didn't do it for me, to be honest.
It was okay.
C. Cole says money grab for omnibus trades in the future. Frustrated says Alistair was never really cleaned up as a villain after his introduction. Yeah, I mean, he's not. He's not a villain anybody cares about. You know, have him go against the Hobgoblin or somebody significant. But
yeah,
I'm biased against this. I don't like the character. I've never liked that character.
The overall story is kind of cool because, as we all know, if you've been reading Marvel for any length of time, New York City was run by Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin, played ably by Vincent D'Onofrio. Michael Clark Duncan played him in the movie, R.I.P. to him. I typically hate race swaps, but Michael Clark Duncan played the hell out of that role as Wilson Fisk. But that being said, the main storyline was cool because Wilson Fisk is off the board. He was basically run out of town, out of New York on a rail. So the underground, the seedy sides of New York is up for grabs. Who's going to be running the criminal underground, right? So everybody vying for power. That's kind of a cool story. But they did it before back in the 90s. And I didn't need to see them do it again, at least give it the same name again. But seeing all these people fighting for each other, Madame Mask is, going up against Tombstone's daughter, going up against the Owl. It's interesting to me. But, this independent book of Luke Cage, it was just...
Yeah, I mean, for Luke, when I heard that Rodney Barnes is finally going to get a chance to do a Luke Cage book, which is something he's wanted to do for a while, I was terribly excited. In fact, he promised that was going to be in the book, which is also disappointing. I wasn't in the book. But beyond all that, it was a different type of story. I think the fans would have wanted. I think fans wanted Luke Cage in the streets fighting a whole bunch of gang. Have Luke. The whole gang war storyline shouldn't be centered around Spider-Man. It should actually be centered around Luke Cage. Have Luke Cage, the mayor of New York, say, I'm going to fight the Anti-Vigilante Act by gathering all the heroes that I know. And we're going to, yes, I know we're going to get arrested for this, but we're going to fight these gangsters back. And it's the mayor of New York and his friends, much like T'Challa did in the Coates run, at the end of the Coates run, where T'Challa gathered all his black superhero friends and said, we're going to fight these aliens from the intergalactic empire of Wakanda and repel them back. Cage gathers all these heroes together and goes up against the gangsters of New York and takes back New York as a vigilante. That would have been a compelling story. This, having him jump in Cage Buster armor, the guy who's got the impenetrable skin and doesn't really need it. I don't know. It didn't really against Alistair Smith, the Spider Smasher.
Yeah. And let me say this: I'm a huge Luke Cage fan.
Yeah, that's my birthday. That's my birthday guy. That's my birthday book.
Across all his properties, other than the most recent stuff that was written by the guy who did Bitter Root. And I'm not talking about the 2000 stuff, but I'm talking about Luke Cage, Power Man, Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, Power Man, and Iron Fist. I'm only missing 6 issues across all 3 of those properties. Huge Luke Cage fan. This, as a Luke Cage fan, this left a lot to be desired for me. And again, we like Rodney Barnes, and I'm not saying that it's his fault, but it just, there was, you can skip it.
I'm not a fan of this look on him either. This mad villain mask thing.
Okay, so here's the thing. In New York, Wilson Fisk, as a bad guy that he is, helped usher through a law in New York City that vigilantism was out. So if you were a superhero who was accustomed to going out in the streets fighting crime, it was outlawed thanks to Wilson Fisk. The look that Wilson has I didn't mean that. The look that Luke Cage has right now is because everybody knows him because he's the mayor, obviously. So he went to this, daughterly old lady to create a new persona so people wouldn't know that it was him, a very large, bald, black dude who's super strong with impenetrable skin fighting crime. I mean, we all know it's him, but that was the look that he was going for here. Love Luke Cage, love Rodney Barnes. On a scale of 1 to 10 on this book, on 4 issues, I give it a 5.
I thought you were going to say 3, but yeah.
No. The art's cool.
The art was okay. It was okay.
Art.
A bit.
Hercules Pain. What does that mean? I don't know who that is.
Oh, they're talking about who the look that Luke Cage had comes from in that other costume.
Mm.
All right, so our next book is that what it is?
Unnatural Order.
You're the one who introduced me to this book.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, long story short, Big Bad goes to a atomic collider at CERN, where there's an atomic collider, and makes it blow up and changes the world.
Let me interject. I apologize for interrupting. But if you remember the X-Men from the 80s and 90s, and if you're familiar with Conan, one of Conan's biggest nemesis is Kulan Gath, right?
Yeah.
He was a big villain from the Hyborian age.
A sorcerer.
He was a sorcerer from the Hyborian age who was always trying to live forever and create his rule for all time so that he was ruling things. In Uncanny X-Men, like one something or another, and I'll tell you here in a moment. But he came to present day. At the time, what was present day, it was 190. Uncanny X-Men 190. I don't know if you can pull that up or whatever. But he converted New York to his time period that he was accustomed to. In Unnatural Order, this dude goes to CERN, which is in Switzerland. It's a big collider that crosses several different nations, literally, where they are doing science, right? And he somehow converts the planet Earth to an ancient time period, where it's a sword and sorcery type time period. There was a soldier who went to try to stop this dude once it was going on, who happens to be a brother. That's why this book is being discussed. Our main hero in this book is a soldier who happens to be a brother. And, he's transported back in time to try to fight the bad guy. And his main thing is he wants to get back to modern times so he can get back with his wife. Reading this book, it reminded me of the series. His character reminded me of the series Invasion. Have you watched that series Invasion?
Is that the one with the aliens come to Earth?
That is correct.
Yeah, I watched. I think the first season or so.
The main actor, whose name I cannot remember, and I'll tell you here in a moment. But that's who it reminds me of, because in the series Invasion, this dude was fighting hard against the aliens to get back to his wife. In this book, that's what this dude is doing. He's been transported to an ancient time period that he's not familiar with. So what he's trying to do is make things back to the way that they used to be, that we're accustomed to, so he can be with his wife and unborn child. Shamir Anderson. That's the actor who was in Invasion. Shamir Anderson.
The guy from the John Wick movies?
The last John Wick movie.
Who was supposed to play the Blue Marvel in the Marvels movie.
Right. We were robbed. We were told that he was the Blue Marvel in the Marvels movie. Did not happen. I don't know if it was on the cutting room floor or whatever. But I'm not saying I would fan cast Shamir Anderson in this role. But having watched that series and reading this book, that's what I was thinking of when I saw it. This specific issue number 3, was thicker than other issues. One of the things that Paula and I have discussed in the past is back in the 80s and 90s, you would buy a book for 60, 75 cents, right? The content in that book was more than a 1-bathroom read, and you can take that however you want. You had a lot of content in the stuff that was back then. You buy a book nowadays for $4.99, you sneeze, you're done with the book. There's so very little that's contained in there.
Well, C. Cole mentions there's only one more issue after this, so they're probably trying to wrap everything up and squeeze as much in there as possible. I can see.
But in this specific issue, you have a lot of content. Like I'm not gonna say I was struggling to get through it, but I'm like, man, because I was looking at the time and I know that we typically start at 9. And I'm like, geez, am I gonna be able to get through this? But this book is very, very well done. And Paul and I decided that we're gonna do a book of the week. For me personally, of the stuff that came out this week, if Harriet Tubman came out this week, that would be my book of the week. It didn't come out this week. Unnatural Order did. It came out on Wednesday. This is my book of the week. This is an extremely good book for me personally. It's from Vault Comics. I just enjoy the art. The art is okay. The art is cool. but the story and the protagonist. Christopher Yost is the writer. The artist is Val Rodriguez. Christopher Yost, I know that name. Does that name sound familiar to you?
Yeah, I mean, he's written a lot of stuff. He was, I believe, one of the co-creators of X-23, the character.
Okay.
He also, I believe, was the writer on an X-Force run that was really dope that included Wolverine and Warpath, Psylocke. He's a good writer. I didn't pick this Bodega Dashes. I didn't pick this up on New Comic Book Day. I might have to double back. Seriously, Marc ain't lying. He's the one that put me on this book. I didn't even think about this book until he told me about it. This is a dope book. Reminded me of John Carter of Mars in concept, where you have this modern soldier transported to a different world,
I see that.
and he's the fish out of water, and trying to figure out how he's going to get back. But then you think he's transported in time, but it's not really a time travel story. Just to be clear, it's more of this is a different world because it has magical creatures in it, fairies and what have you. So it is a different world that he's transported to.
Our current
people,
yeah.
What?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize. Go ahead.
And the people that he's interacting with, he's like, I kind of sort of recognize them, but I don't know from where. And he doesn't know why. And they kind of reveal that towards the end of this book.
Yeah. I think the Kulan Goth from the X-Men back in the day is an apt analogy, because that's basically what Kulan Goth did. And then also volume 3 of the Avengers, where you had in 1602, as a matter of fact, for those of you who read that, you had your current heroes who weren't necessarily transported in time, but their time period was messed with. That's the best way to say it. I like this book a lot. I like this book.
Honestly, of all the books that we've reviewed this week, this is my book of the week.
That's what I said. Yeah, this is the book of the week.
This is my book. That's how strong I feel about this book.
Yep. And
the art is hit or miss. I agree with Mark. The art is hit or miss.
Yeah.
I
mean, I can't draw like that, but it's still, in comparison to other things that we see, it's okay.
If you saw my interview with Newton Lillevoix, who is the writer on the Crescent City Monsters and Keisha Demon Eater, I should say. The art by Bernal, Juan Bernal. Whew. My opinion of art in comparison is just, I'm kind of biased at this point. So yeah, this art is okay, but it's a very well written story. It is a cinematically written story. The dialogue in it, the basic premise, the storyline is such that I could see this as a miniseries easily. There's even a reference in this book where this soldier is running around. He's like, man, this is some Game of Thrones type stuff. And then people around him like, what is this Game of Thrones? Right? Does he think this is a game? Right. And it's like that reference, but yeah, it's kind of like this could easily be a Game of Thrones type of show.
And what's funny is he's in Europe, right? He's basically in England. And, at that time period, there weren't a lot of Black folks in England. And they keep thinking that he's Ethiopian. This is a spoiler, I apologize. But one of the characters referred to him as an Ethiopian. And he's like, damn it, I'm not from Ethiopia. I just thought that was funny. It's a very
Cole says, yeah, he's the creator of X-23. That's what I said.
Okay.
And he says it's also one of Vault Comics' top sellers. Good to hear.
This is why we don't give spoilers. For those of you who may not have read it, don't want to spoil anything that you're going to come up against. It is a good read. It is my personal book of the week. So,
and another good thing, because it's an indie book and it's not on a lot of people's radar, you can go into your LCS right now and pick up issues 1 and 2 still for cover price, if not less at this point. You want a lot of bang for your buck, pick up this run. When on Marc's recommendation alone, I went ahead and bought 1 and 2, and I got them for cover price or less from LCS. This is a worthwhile book, definitely.
Yeah. The only reason why I had this book is my LCS. There's a book that I get called Barbaric, and it is set in this ancient world that the main bad guy in this, I guess, is trying to take him to, whatever. But one of the nerds at the LCS was like, Leo, since you like Barbaric, you may very well like this. And I told him, like, look, I'm going to spend my money on this. If I don't like it, I'm going to jack you up. Bought 1 and 2, read it, didn't have to jack him up because it is a good read.
Look what Eye of the Watcher says. He says, that is not a surprise, as Jack Johnson was known as the Ethiopian, as oftentimes, sometimes some people who call black people the name of black people they are familiar with.
And see, right, that's it. So, like, without going too deep into it, the characters in the book don't know about black folks from New Jersey or whatever because it didn't exist. All they have to go by is what their references are at that time. And it was just funny how they referred to him as the Ethiopian. He was like, damn it, I'm not from Ethiopia. This is a good book. Highly recommend. Book of the week, better than anything that I've read, other than
Unnatural Order is that book
that came out this week. So yeah, that's it.
Unnatural Order is that book.
Yes. So typically, after we go through our books, we go through, what are you watching? So for you,
we're going to take another quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll get into what you guys are watching. We'll be right back.
This is Derek Harrison of Black Comic Lords, and I'm here with Greg Burnham. You might know him from Tuskegee Airs. He's got several other titles, and this is a new one that's coming out in November.
November 22nd, Little Rock Files. It was a story that we originally did in Noir is the New Black, which is an awesome anthology y'all need to get if you don't have it. But we did a 6-pager in there. And we ended up getting asked to do a full book. So the interiors, I'm holding this one. These are 2 of the covers. The interiors are being done by Quinn McGowan, who did this book. Who did this poster cover. And then Marcus Williams, my co-creator on Tuskegee Airs, he did the art for this cover. And we also put like our original 6 pages in the book, just so you can have everything that we've done so far. It's a 1980s noir detective story that takes place in Little Rock, Arkansas. We actually put some reference some real things that were going on back in the time as far as the drug trade and dirty governors that turned into presidents, but that's a different story. So yeah, check it out, November 22nd. It will be in comic shops. If your shop didn't order it originally, get in there and ask them to get you a copy. We're trying to do some really good stuff with this book, and we appreciate you.
This week in Black History, Black Comic Lord celebrates the artistry of Dennis Cowan. Dennis Cowan is a comic book artist with a flair for naturalism. If I didn't know any better, I thought the brother lived and breathed in brick-walled alleys, inhaling the pollution of the city streets and exhaling the pictures of agony and anguish. You see, it's hard to describe Mr. Cowan's art, so I'm forced to use a ghetto analogy. Dennis Cowan's art is like fish and grits. It's not first on the menu, but you're glad you spotted it. Visually, it tastes good and your eyes will be filled. Yes, filled, I say, filled with detail. They say the devil is in the details, but Dennis be like, hold my beer, because the brother crafts scenes and faces where it makes you wonder, did he miss anything? Each panel is filled with action, and though pictures cannot physically move, Dennis Cowan shows and proves that they actually can. From Batman to The Question to the Black Panther and others, Dennis Cowan's art speaks like Terminator X speaks with his hands. That makes him a bad man and worthy to be celebrated. Salute the living legend that is Dennis Cowan, a Black history legend. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until next time, peace.
And we're back for our next section. What you watching?
So, what are you watching?
I don't get to watch television.
Movies. Did you ever go see One Love? Have you seen that yet?
I have not yet. I plan to. I just haven't had the time.
Wait, you said you would take your mom to go see it?
Yeah, I wasn't able to take her.
Gotcha.
She had some things she had to go to.
Gotcha.
Oh, as an aside, C. Cole says stores have the first issue of Unnatural Order 50 cents for some reason. Wow. Was that the actual price?
No, it was not.
It was like $4 or something.
Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah. Listen to what I'm saying. Unnatural Order is an extremely good read. You guys watch us for a reason, right? It's Friday night. You could be out there drinking and partying and doing whatever, but you're watching a couple of old dudes talking about comic books. There's a reason you're doing that, right? We're not saying that we're experts in this, but we're longtime readers. We are fans of the medium like you guys are. Unnatural Order is an extremely good read. So, trust our judgment or not, it's up to you. But back to what you watch.
In terms of what I watched this week, every day my daughter and I watch an episode of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. That has been a tremendously enjoyable television series.
Are there new episodes or these old episodes?
Yeah, it's a new season that dropped. They dropped all the issues. They dropped all the episodes all at once.
Okay.
So 10 episodes. I think we're up to episode like 4 or 5 now.
You know what's also good that your daughter might like? Craig of the Creek. Craig of the Creek from Cartoon Network is actually really, really
What's it
good.
called?
Craig of the Creek.
I've heard of that. That was written. Wasn't that written by Cody Ziegler at one point?
I have no idea. It's an animated series that was on Cartoon Network about a young man who, along with a couple of childhood friends, goes to this creek and they have their own adventures at this creek, right? But what I appreciate about the series, it's about a Black kid. And as Paul and I have always told you guys, when we were kids coming up watching cartoons, rarely if ever did we see cartoon characters who looked like us. So this series is about this young Black kid, right? He comes from a 2-parent household. His mom, I want to say, went to Howard. It's a very fun show. So if you have young kids or if you're just a nerd who likes cartoons, Craig of the Creek is a very good one. So I'm telling you, Paul, that you and your daughter may very well like that show.
Is it on Netflix or Hulu or that?
It is a Cartoon Network show.
Cartoon Network.
So I'm guessing Amazon Prime, you could probably watch it that way. I saw The Color Purple when it came out. I think that Taraji P. Henson was robbed of an Oscar nomination. I think Coleman Domingo was robbed for an Oscar nomination.
Have they done the nominations already?
Oh, yeah.
Eye of the Watcher says he has a cousin that was an extra in the new Color Purple movie.
That movie was filmed here in Georgia. I thought I'm partial to the original. The original was a brilliant movie, 11 Oscar nominations, not one win, which still pisses me off to this day because the NAACP, among others, were boycotting the movie because of how it portrayed Black men specifically. But, men can be assholes, whatever the case may be, whatever. It was a brilliant movie. This movie was good. The only thing I didn't like about the movie personally was how Mister was somewhat redeemed at the end, even though that may very well be in line with the book, which I have not read. But for a film, I enjoyed it. Fantasia Barrino is fine, but not a strong actress to me. One of my boys who actually is an actor in New York on New York stages, he disagrees with me, don't care about his opinion. Fantasia was the weakest link in that movie to me, but it was a very solid movie.
Frustrated says Deion Cole should have been given a nod as well.
I won't agree with that, but I did not know that that was him for the longest time. You know, Deion Cole was in The Harder They Fall. Deion Cole was in The Color Purple. In The Color Purple, I did not know that that was Deion Cole until the movie was damn near over. I'm like, God, I know this dude's face. Why do I know this?
He's also on the show Blackish.
Yes, we know that. That's how most of us know Deion Cole, who was a stand-up comedian. He played Charlie, who always had issues with Diane in the series Black.
And Grownish as well.
He played the same character. But in this movie and in The Harder They Fall, he has branched out other than that, you know, crazy, quirky character from the Blackish franchise that we know him to be. He basically played Celie's and Nettie's father in that show. I had no idea it was him because he looked significantly different, but he did good. I won't say that he deserved an Oscar nomination. Corey, what's Corey's name? The guy who played Dr. Dre in
I know you're talking about.
Corey Hawkins. I did not know that he could sing. He had a singing and dancing routine in that. He did well. But no, Taraji P. Henson deserved an Oscar nomination, and Coleman Domingo deserved an Oscar nomination. I feel personally that both of them were wrong.
Did she at least get a Golden Globe nomination?
I can't tell you because I honestly.
C. Cole, going back to the Craig of the Creek show, says it got axed from the guys who did Steven Universe. So did the guys from Steven Universe.
I didn't watch.
So there's a spin-off and maybe a movie, and Craig's brother is voiced by Phil.
Oh,
Phil Lamar.
Okay. But the question was, what are you watching? So the other day I was just scrolling.
The only other show, just as an aside, the other show I watched is I think I watched half of the first episode of season 2 of Halo, which is a dope show.
Herc Crondon is in that. For those who don't know, Crondon played Tobias Well in Black Lightning. He made that series. Crondon is.
I don't remember him in Halo.
You've only watched the half episode of episode 1, correct?
Of the second season. He's in the second season?
My understanding he is.
Oh, okay. That's what I look forward to.
But anyway, I think his name is like Marvin Jones III is his real name.
Yes.
And he made, for me, Black Lightning. Every line that he spit was hilarious. That dude he's great. But I think he's in Halo. But for me, what I'm watching, Paul, I sent you the picture. I was scrolling through Amazon Prime or whatever, and I saw this picture of a cartoon or whatever. I didn't know what it was, so I clicked on it. Hit play. Literally 20 seconds into this series, I was sold. I'm a huge anime fan. A lot of you folks out there, as nerds, may be anime fans as well. The series is called Ninja Kamui, Kamui, Ninja Kamui. The picture is up there in the DMs, whatever, Paul. But listen, the story, the action, the animation is phenomenal. That's what I saw. Like, I'm just going through it. I'm like, okay, what is this? You know, I had no idea, hadn't heard about it, hadn't seen any trailers. I had seen absolutely nothing about it. Found it on Amazon Prime, push play. As I said a moment ago, literally, not figuratively, literally 20 seconds in, there is a big ass fight scene. And I'm like, oh my God. So if you guys, most of you guys, I would imagine, watch the Boondocks, right? I don't care what anybody says. The Boondocks is an anime, right? Even though it's
Yep.
technically not
The best
it's
black anime of all time.
It's an anime. You see, for example, when when Riley and his family has to fight Stinkmeaner and the haters, basically Red Fox, JJ Walker, blah blah blah. You see the fight scenes in the one with the kickball episode. You see how they animated those fight scenes, right? The fight scenes in this, literally, not figuratively, 20 seconds in, spectacular. If you watch Jujutsu Kaisen, the fights in there are some of the best fight scene of any anime ever, right? Two episodes of this series, it's right up there. It's about a guy and his family who's part of a ninja clan who left their ninja clan and are being hunted. Listen to
Frustrated says this is the anime that we was talking about last week about how they did a black character really well. There's a black character in this?
Yes, the FBI agent. Yes. It's listen. I was hoping episode 3 was going to be dropping like yesterday or today, but I cannot find it. Guys, it'll take less than an hour of your time for the first 2 episodes. This show is really, really good.
You sent me another DM too of another show.
Yes, and that's the second thing.
One I didn't know about that I absolutely am looking forward to watching. And that is, you had me at the name of the movie. You didn't have to tell me. You didn't have to show me the trailer. The name of the show itself is enough for me to want to watch this. House of Ninjas.
It is on Netflix, as it says.
Yes, please.
8 episodes. I am halfway through. Let me tell you something. Episode 1 was.
I didn't realize it's already dropped. By the way.
Yeah. I didn't either. I mean, I think I saw it on the Twitters, and I'm like, okay, well, let me go find it. The series is about a literal family of ninjas who have decided to put up their shurikens and everything of that nature and live a regular life, right? But as the great quote in Godfather 3 says, every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. And so the family is being pulled back into the world of the shinobi, even though they tried to put it aside after a tragic event happened. Again, I'm episode 1.5 in, very, very good. And it is in original Japanese, so it is subtitled. So if that's not an issue for you, this is a series for you. So those are two
Wait,
things that
you watched it even though it's subtitled? You hate subtitles.
I don't prefer subtitles, but if that's all we have, that's all we have. And this is what this is. So I am enjoying it. You have a father, a wife, a grandmother, a son, a daughter, and another young son. And the young son, spoiler, doesn't know about his family's history when it comes to being shinobi. So it is good. I am recommending that. Especially episode 1. Episode 1 was jam-packed. Very good.
Bo Big mentions that there's a Disney Plus show coming out on Wednesday called Iwaju.
Disney Plus. Did you watch
I
that
haven't
back?
seen the trailer for it, but I have seen the ads or pictures. Oh, shoot. I can't show this. Let me stop this because the last time I tried to show a trailer, I got tagged by YouTube. But let me see if I can find something I can actually show.
While you're doing that, have you watched Bad Batch? Have you watched Bad Batch season 3 yet?
Can we watch what?
Have you watched Bad Batch season 3, the first 3 episodes yet?
I still didn't hear what you said. Did I watch what?
Bad Batch.
Bad Batch? No, I haven't watched Bad Batch season 3 yet.
Okay.
Is it already dropped?
The first 3 episodes, yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. But Afrofuturism. on
Okay.
Disney Plus.
I had no idea
but I
about
can
it, so
love it.
I'm adding that to my list. So yes.
Yeah.
So listen,
This
guys,
is definitely something I want to go check out.
check this out. We complain a lot about the lack of Black content, right? Unless you watch this stuff, they're not going to know that people are interested in it. I mentioned on Netflix, for a Netflix show, My Dad the Bounty Hunter. There was no fanfare when season 2 dropped out, which was basically Wakanda. Season 2 of My Dad the Bounty Hunter was what Black Panther should have been. Okay.
Yes.
There was
They
another
absolutely
show
introduced Wakanda.
right. There was another show that I watched called, I think it was called One Love. It was another animated show with Kid Cudi was the voice of the dad. The young lady who did
An animated show.
Insecure. What's her name?
Issa Rae.
Issa Rae was the voice of the mom. If we don't watch and stream these shows, people are not going to know. The powers that be are not going to know that we're actually interested in, and they're going to continuously give us Snowfall and BMF and shows that are about drug dealing that aren't necessarily positive. Those shows are very good shows that have positive representation of Black folks. No disrespect to the actors and the creators behind those other shows that I just mentioned. But, I was not familiar with the one that you just put up. So I'm now going to be looking for it. Once it drops, even if, let me just say this, A, we should be watching it. B, if you're not going to watch it, hit play, go out and run errands, because that's still going to count towards the views of that particular show. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
If we're tired of Black trauma porn, we have to consume other things besides the Black trauma porn.
Well, I think that's all we have.
That's it. Yeah. So anyway, do you know what's coming up next week as far as books? What's supposed to drop?
Let's take a look. Give me a second.
That's what we should do also at the very end. See what's coming up.
Let's go to my League Comic Geek. Go to my comic pool list for the Black Comic Lords for the week of February 28th. And there's something on here, you and I need to talk about. Excuse me. So for those of you who don't know, maybe new to our show, new to our channel, the Black Comic Lords has an account at the leagueofcomicgeeks.com, in which we have a pull list that I try to curate every week. Sometimes a little off. I get a little behind. But usually it's mostly up to date. Of just various books with either Black characters that have prominent roles in the books, not just in the background, have prominent roles, or are done by Black comic creators, one or the other. And here's the list of books that are coming out for this coming week. Amazon's Attack from DC. We've got Avengers Twilight 3. I think Luke Cage is in this book. Old man Luke Cage. Advent Comics supporting our indie books. Shout out to Advent Comics. Capable. Here's the book that Marc put me on. Conan the Barbarian. Art by Douglas Braithwaite from England. Written by Jim Zub, who gave Marc a shout out, by the way. He watched our show, saw that Marc liked the book, and the writer Jim Zub gave Marc some love and thanked him for him reading the book and enjoying the book, and said how much he enjoyed working with Douglas Braithwaite. So that was cool.
That book since issue 1. Yeah.
Dead Detective. About Black Box Comics. Keep an eye on Black Box Comics. They're consistently putting out some books that a lot of you guys don't know about, including Empath by our boy Brian Hawkins. This is what I need to talk to you about. He's had this book. This is now on its 5th issue. Comes out next week. We need to bring
And
Brian
he hasn't
on.
said anything. I'm
What?
going to send him a text message right now. Keep talking. I'm listening.
We need to have Brian on the show. In
I'm
fact,
listening to
I got a mail from Brian. Emailed me this week. These comics, America's Kingdom. This is a Kickstarter he had like a year or two ago. I actually forgot I ordered these. That's my only problem with Kickstarters. You don't know when the book's actually going to come out. You go out and support, and you forget about it. This I ordered literally at probably more than a year ago, and I just got it this week from Brian Hawkins. I haven't read it yet.
So for those who don't know, we first became familiar with Brian Hawkins, and I think I found him on Twitter somehow. I don't know how this started, but basically Brian Hawkins, along with Patrick Foreman, created a book called Black Cotton. And we used to have them on pretty regularly about 2 years ago. It doesn't seem like we're going to get another Black Cotton. Hopefully we do.
Well, we can ask him about that.
Right. But Brian Hawkins is an actual comic book creative. Not only does he write his own books, but he was slated as an editor on a book that I read called Nottingham, which was about, the Robin Hood mythology. He was the editor-in-chief on the 2nd volume of that. So Brian is that dude. He's immersed in this culture. The fact that he hasn't told us about this book, we need to bring him on. I just sent him a text message. I have his number, talked to him plenty of times, but we need to have him back so he can tell us about this particular book. Brian's a cool dude.
Very cool dude. With a lot of books under his belt.
Yep.
Look at all the books he's worked on.
Like the Devil's Dominion he sent me.
Wilder by Black. He's done a lot of work with Black Box Comics.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. There's the Nottingham that I talked about earlier.
Mad Cave. He's basically done a run of all the most popular indie titles. Publishers. Zenoscope, Mad Cave.
The Vineyard. He actually
Aftershock.
He won some type of award for The Vineyard. I can't remember what it was, but that was like a 4 or 5 issue limited series. I have that. Right. Brian is cool, and he does a lot of work in this space. So hopefully we can get him back on here to talk about all the stuff that he's done since last.
Yeah, we got to talk about his Empath book.
Yeah, I had no idea about it.
You didn't know about the Empath book?
I did not.
Yeah, it's on the 5th issue, so you have the opportunity to go ahead and go to your LCS and pick him up before we bring him on and talk about his book.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, going back to what's coming out next week. How do I go back here?
So I collect Amazon's Attacks. I collect Conan.
Green Arrow. I only put this on here because Amanda Waller's on the cover. I don't even know if she's in the book, but I love
Amanda Waller's that chick. She really
Amanda Waller's that. Man. Look, she's the Nick Fury of the DC universe, and should be recognized as such.
Yo, so back in the 90s, there was this thing called Amalgam Comics where you had DC and Marvel creating joint project, right? How cool would it be if you had an amalgam comic with Black Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson Nick Fury, with Amanda Waller trying to do some stuff?
Trying to out scheme each other.
That would be cool. That would be really, really cool.
Here's your Murderer's Row of dope books for next week by itself. Harriet Tubman, who we talked about tonight, issue 6 is supposedly supposed to come out next week.
Give me that.
This Invincible Iron Man centers on War Machine, James Rhodes. I don't know if you're following Invincible Iron Man, but James Rhodes went out on a mission with Tony Stark, and Rhodes ended up getting captured and imprisoned because that's where Black characters eventually go. Um, as an aside, I want y'all to think about for a minute how many black characters have been put in jail or prison or have committed acts of crime in the past.
Allegedly.
It's an unusually high number. An unusually high number. I don't like that. Anyway, James Rhodes gets the black superhero treatment and gets imprisoned for being a superhero. And he's back. And he's back with a vengeance with his War Machine armor on and going up. This will basically be kind of a solo story for him. Philadelphia's back, Savage Dragon, crossover in Philadelphia. It's dope. You gotta buy it. It's the best book on the shelves. Miles Morales, Spider-Man, number 17. Coming off of the gang war thing, Miles exploring his powers more. And then Resurrection of Magneto. It's written by Al Ewing. It's got Storm on the cover. You know what that means? This book is actually another Storm book because Al Ewing is the best writer Storm has ever had. And he discovered the secret to Storm's success. Don't put her name on the cover. Put her picture on the cover, but don't label the book Storm. Shh. Don't tell anybody I told you this. It's really a Storm book. Sword, X-Men Red, Resurrection of Magneto. This is like Storm volumes 4, 5, and 6. But
Resurrection of Magneto
Al Ewing wants the book to sell. He figured out, or the editor at Marvel figured out, if you put Storm's name on the cover, no one's going to buy it. But if you call it X-Men or some other name, and you simply have her in it and have her do dope covers, the book will sell. But
Resurrection of Magneto number 1.
Everything done by Al Ewing for the last 5 years with involving the X-Men has been a Storm book. Shh. Let's just keep this on the low between you and I. It's a Storm book. Also next week, speaking of Cody Ziegler, coming back with Spider-Punk, Volume 2, Arms Race. Spider-Punk is a very, very popular character. I just finally got my Spider-Punk action figure.
Who voiced him in the movie? Who voiced him in the animated movie?
Who voiced him? Man, your mic sucks. Daniel Kaluuya. Daniel Kaluuya.
Oscar winner, Daniel Kaluuya.
Who just produced that film that came on Netflix with, is it Netflix? The sci-fi film that takes place in London. It's kind of like Top Boy in the future. Top Boy 2063.
What's it called?
I forget the name of the movie.
No, I'll have to look for it.
Anyway, these are the books for next week. Let's see. Going to the chat. Hope everyone's all right. Marc, your shirt is very popular.
Thank you very much.
Corden says, "Go look Philadelphia" is a book. Cage Sakuma says, "First I thought about was Luke Cage, but Paul, you're right. I remember seeing a panel from Coates' run of Cap where Steve bails Falcon out and calls out the racism of the cops." Telling you, most black superheroes, or many black superheroes, at some point are either arrested, imprisoned, or have some type of criminal history in their past, including T'Challa and Storm, for just so you know. Inside the square circle with King Judah. What's going on, guys? Chillmonger makes a late appearance. What's up, Chillmonger?
Why did he put a watermelon emoji?
He's trying to troll us by putting watermelon because this is a black show. That's I'm not certain why you're doing that, Chillmonger. That's not cool, dude. Red and white shirt, striped shirt. I don't know. I don't know what that emoji means. It must be a Canadian thing because that's the colors of their flag. Rage also. Yes, Rage also has been imprisoned. A lot of black superheroes get imprisoned. It's a thing. Not cool. Not cool. But that's our show.
As always, guys, thank you very much for spending your Fridays with us. You guys could have been out there doing anything in the world, but you were sitting up here listening to us talk about comic books and liquor and all this other, and TV shows and all this other stuff. Before you go, if you have not done so already, make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. So then on Fridays, when we show up, you'll automatically know. So thank you as always. We appreciate your time and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Kasuma explains the watermelon. Watermelon is another symbol for Palestine.
I
know it was wild for me at first as well. Huh. I didn't know that. So thank you for educating me on that. I'll have to research that. I was unaware that watermelon was a symbol for Palestine.
Yeah. Gordon, thank you.
I eat watermelon, but I eat it with a big knife nearby.
Probably with salt on it too, don't you?
It's funny. Rich mentions this all the time, like how watermelon is viewed as a derogatory, pejorative, black thing, right? But he points out, the reason our ancestors would eat watermelon is because they're working out in the fields, and is actually a great way to replenish your fluids when you're out in the hot fields working. It was an excellent way to get your electrolytes back and get yourself refreshed. So it was actually medicinal reasons as to why they had so much watermelon.
If you guys have not done so, I mentioned it last week, the movie, the book, Black AF by Michael Harriet. I would encourage all of you guys to pick that book up.
Are you getting kickbacks? This is the third time you've mentioned this.
I am not, but it is a good book. It is very informative and it is very entertaining book. As a book, it is funny. Even though he is hitting you with actual facts and actual history, he's doing so in a very humorous way. Black AF by Michael Harriet. I would encourage you guys to pick that book up. So anyway, till next time.
Watermelon is nutritious and a great source of structural water. Very much so. Don't be ashamed of your watermelon love. It's good for you. One last comment. I need to get that book, and no, I don't think Harriet is paying Mark.
He is not. Trust me when I tell you.
Watermelon's better than sports drinks. Facts. Listen, y'all, we appreciate you watching us, spending time with us. Really do. We'll catch you next time. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like button at the bottom of the screen. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I saw a couple of new people in the chat. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to our channel. Hit the little bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified as to when we're going to do these shows, because we don't do a bunch of advertising. We kind of just pop on at the last minute. Mark and I have jobs and lives. We don't know when we're going to do the show one week to another. We're trying to be more consistent and making sure we do it every Friday, 9-ish, between 9 and 9:30, depending on how fast I can pull everything together. So hitting the notification bell will give you some warning as to when we're going to be on. But thank y'all for being out here. And just the last couple things, comments. Good night, everyone. Already subscribed. Great. Thank you very much, I the Watcher. Watermelon has the same colors as the Palestinian flag.
Yeah,
and that's real talk. So on that note, thank you all very much. Mark, till next time, bro.
All right, man. See y'all later. Thanks
Black Comic Lords. We got you.